Well, well, well. Folks, we got an interesting discussion for you this week. We have Sharks, we have Nintendo, we have Keith David. I don't know how all those things relate to each other. In fact, they don't. But that is part of what we're going to be discussing this week because we have nothing if not variety here, to say the least. But we'll be discussing the insanity of Nintendo wanting to brick switch 2s remotely. We're talking about Keith David getting a Hollywood Walk of Fame star, finally, which is awesome. And sadly, we'll also be discussing the passing away of a tremendous actor in Michael Madsen, looking back on his contributions to the film world. So, at least there's some ups instead of all downs this week, so we're going to go ahead and get right to it. Ladies and gents, welcome to another episode of On the Grind. Alright. So, before we get started, so I don't forget, let's go ahead and go through who is with me this week. As, of course, I am the president CEO of Grindstone Arts, Micah Curtis. With me is my social media manager, Serena.
Hey.
My editor-in-chief, Mike.
Hello, hello.
And over on the opposite side is our head of logistics. Goodness. I clearly cannot speak. Head of logistics, Xavier.
How's it going? I'm pretty popular with the opposite sex. You might as well call me the head of logistics. Heyo.
Anyway.
Hey.
But this week I have the review of the week, and we are going to scare Serena.
Mm-hmm.
Not hard.
Well, especially with these guys, because I didn't, I'm going to say this right now. So we're talking 40K this week, for those who don't know. Specifically, the new Carcharodon's book came out literally a week ago. It's called Void Exile. And there's a concept within 40K called transhuman dread. The basic idea is that Space Marines, which in their current Primaris form, they are about 7.5 to 8 feet tall, depending on the chapter. Lower end is going to be dudes like the Imperial Fists, the Ultramarines. High end is going to be people like the Storm Giants, the Salamanders, any son of Vulcan, basically. It's going to be massive. And the thing about transhuman dread, the basic idea is that it's sort of like the frightening nature of if Brock Lesnar was running at you. There's, do you guys remember when Cracked.com was funny?
Oh, that was so long ago. Holy shit.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite guys on that website was a dude named Sean Baby. And
yeah, Sean Baby.
Yeah, he was hilarious. He wrote an article about Brock Lesnar, or mentioned Brock Lesnar in one of his articles. And he said Brock Lesnar moves like nobody took the time to explain physics to him.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good fucking.
Because you mentioned Sean Baby and it's relevant to comics. One of the greatest things he gave to the comics community is Super Dickory.
That was him, wasn't it?
Was him. A collection of all the best covers from the Gold and Silver Age, where Superman is a dick to all of his friends, especially Jimmy Olsen and Lois Lane.
Oh, Jimmy Olsen gets it so bad. But regardless...
Or all the times Jimmy Olsen is trying to kill Superman.
There's that, too. But regardless, one thing I didn't really think is that transhuman dread would, translate outside of this. Because effectively what Space Marines are is they are like Brock Lesnar, but bigger. They're stupid fast. They run, I think it's 60 miles an hour in that powered armor.
Oh, God, at minimum.
Yeah. So it's like a car running at you, but it's the size of a human. Like in whatchamacallit,
2,500. Let me go find my fucking Go on. I'll go find the numbers.
Yeah, go for it. So, because like I want to give people an idea of what this is like, because there's some stuff in this book that, in context, is kind of wild when you think of how big these dudes are. But the concept of transhuman dread is basically whenever normal humans see a space marine move, they are instantly awestruck by it and scared because something that big should not move that fast. Oh man, like I mean, there's a mechanic in Space Marine 2 where you fight Chaos Cultists from, like, Tzeentchian Chaos Cultists. And you can literally run straight through them. As in, like, when you sprint at them and you hit them, they jib immediately. Just splat. It's like the scene from RoboCop when Emil gets hit. Just gone.
It probably scratches the same center of the brain where body horror hits, where you're terrified and disgusted because this thing should not be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They genuinely should not be.
You're just hitting it differently.
Serena, is that why they scare you? Rena?
Oh, she's so scared she's just hiding.
Well, partially, just don't like their faces.
Okay, that is a good that is a good reason to be scared of the Carcharodons, because they are fucking scary looking.
Mm-hmm.
So, to give you guys an idea of what the Carcharodons are in 40k, the Carcharodons are pretty much all but 100% confirmed to be a Raven Guard successor chapter. Now, the Raven Guard, one of the key things about them, whenever you see a Raven Guard member with their helmet off, is that they have very pale skin, black eyes, and black hair. Now, they basically, like, their Primarch looks like Peter Steele or Nathan Explosion, depending on how you look at it. Like, just black hair, black eyes, you know. Now, the thing about the Carcharodons is they have that same trait, but they also, instead of having the just kind of like the we're roadies for a metal band look, instead they have shorter haircuts and they're more styled like the Maori or Samoans. So imagine these guys doing a haka. Because they also have, like, Maori and Samoan tattooing style. They also file their teeth down to points like sharks.
That's why I just self out.
Well, there's a couple of real cultures that used to, like, sharpen their teeth down to points like that, and they would do that specifically for, well, it keeps them from rotting, because then they can keep stuff from getting stuck in between them.
Yeah.
But in this case, it'd be straight up just because it looks fucking freaky.
Yeah. But yeah, that's basically what they are.
Do not forget their battle cry, "Shark bait, brouhaha."
That is actually not what their battle cry is. They actually don't have one, oddly enough, because they are obsessed with silence, which is what I find so interesting about them. Because you have these guys that are 7 feet tall, wearing how much poundage of armor was it?
You're looking at about 300 to 400 pounds for their armor, and then they themselves roughly 750. It really depends, but you're looking anywhere from 500 to 1,000. 500 to 1,000. Holy crap! I always forget these fucking numbers because they're so ridiculous.
Okay, so they're silent, but I'm willing to bet a couple of them got like a servitor skull with a speaker pod playing Jaws theme with them everywhere they go.
That would be fun. But okay, so according to the internet, current, like, most power armor weighs around 180 kilograms, so close to 400 pounds. And it has gotten lighter with time. However, Terminator armor weighs
400 kilograms.
Yeah, so that's 880 880 pounds. And Space Marines themselves can be 500 pounds or more without the armor. Mm-hmm. So you got like a half a ton of muscle and iron running at you whenever these guys are running at you. And they're running faster than 60 miles an hour sometimes. Like, it's absolutely fucking scary how quick these guys are. So, we've talked about the previous two books on the show before. And the basic thing is that these books mostly follow the third company of the Carcharodons. Because the third company of the Carcharodons features a... okay, I have to give a little bit more explanation. So each captain of the Carcharodons will have certain roles within the chapter beyond just the normal captain's roles. And the third company captain has the role of what is called the Reaper Prime. Now, the Reaper Prime is in charge of overseeing recruitment for chapter serfs and potential recruits. And they do this through what is called the Red Tithe, and he oversees it. Now, the Red Tithe basically is, they go to a planet, they fix a problem, and they say, okay, by our right as Space Marines, we are allowed to recruit from worlds that we deem fit. As such, we are invoking the Red Tithe. We are going to go to your people, and we will ask for volunteers, and then we will take as well. So usually what they'll do is they'll go to if it's a willing population, they're happy that this happened, they'll go to them and say, look, we need volunteers to try to become Space Marines. We also need volunteers to serve on the ship or on our ships as serfs to be part of the crew and things along those lines. Because Space Marine ships, well, all ships within the Imperium of Man are massive. They're flying cities, basically.
Absurdly large.
Yeah, and then you
smallest
have...
is at least a kilometer for the smallest.
So imagine... Yeah, so imagine, the smallest ships are like the size of a small country town. Literally with a small country's town worth of people living and working inside of it. And then they just go from there. So they're constantly in need of people. So that is effectively what the Reaper Prime does, is he is the one who handles that. So from there, we follow that particular Reaper Prime, who has been a gentleman named Baal Shar. Baal Shar is at the point of this story now, he's about 300-ish years old. Because it's been a minute since the last book, because the previous books were before the Bad Ab War. Which the Bad Ab War, I think, is 100 years before the Era Indominus? Something like that? 100?
About that?
Because Baal Shar fought during the Bad Ab War, and then he fought alongside Pelis Mirsan, who is the captain of the second company of the Salamanders, and they're the same age. So he's got to be a few hundred years old at this point. But basically what has happened is, since the last book, the Bad Ab War has happened, and the Era Indominus has happened. And we find the Carcharodons in an interesting spot because, they're obviously one of the most secretive chapters of all Space Marines. We know very little about them, except for what happened during the Bad Ab War, and that's where we get a lot of information on their backgrounds and stuff like that, and how we know that their gene seed is vastly mostly Raven Guard. And oddly enough, they actually served with another Raven Guard successor in that war in the Raptors. But that's where we know most from them. And so it's been some time since that point, and there's been some changes within the universe. One of them being that Robute Gilliman has returned, Lionel Johnson has returned, Belisarius Cawl became a big figurehead within the Adeptus Mechanicus. He, of course, is the creator of the Primaris program. He's been working on it for 10,000 years in secret. The Emperor told him to do it, so it's okay, even though it's technically tech heresy. There's a whole book where he's arguing his case as to why he's not a heretic. And he's not part of the Dark Mechanicum or something. Because basically what Belisarius Cawl argues is that everything that's in the Primaris program was reverse engineered from other things they've discovered from the Dark Age of technology. So basically he's like, I'm not innovating, I'm just copying somebody else's homework.
And that homework is the Emperor's homework, because he told me to do this.
Yep. So
He even managed to figure out one half of the what was missing from the Primarchs. Unfortunately, if he did figure out how to the other half of the Primarchs, there'd be way overpowered fucking Space Marines now.
oh yeah. Because he's one thing that's wild about this is that there's actually a novel that goes over some Alpha Legion guys that were trapped in the warp that have to fight some Primaris Marines. And the Primaris Marines at first bully the shit out of them because they're so much bigger. Because the Alpha Legion guys are generally kind of on the smaller end of the Space Marine scale. And they ran into Ultramarines. They just threw them around. They're like, what the fuck? How'd they get bigger? So, but yeah, the Primaris thing is a big deal, regardless. So in the lore, that was a big part of it, and a lot of people were wondering, especially Carcharodon's fans, how certain chapters were going to, react to this. And the basic idea is that most chapters, or I think all of them, accepted the Rubicon Primaris, the procedure. Some of them did not accept the reinforcements, or they were mad about taking reinforcements, one of them being Gabriel Seth, who never shuts the fuck up.
Fuck him.
Yeah, I fucking hate that guy. But, the whatchamacallit, the Carcharodons were one that people were wondering, it's well, does this go against their beliefs and the terms of their exile? And apparently what does go against it would be taking the reinforcements. What doesn't go against it is taking the procedure. So most of the Carcharodons, according to the book, have crossed the Rubicon Primaris. There are some who chose not to. They apparently didn't lose that many guys. But they chose to do so. So ladies and gentlemen, yes, Tyberos the Red Wake, the biggest normal Space Marine in the setting, is now even bigger. Serena, how's that sound?
I think she's getting bullied just by the thought of it. She's out here plugging her ears going, no, I'm not listening. He's not 2 extra feet tall. This is bullshit, with his half scary face. Because, seriously, he's got a really scary face.
Yes, he does.
Where do you just find 2 extra feet laying around?
It apparently comes from... Part of the procedure is they reinforce your musculature and your skeletal system. So they effectively kind of stretch you out during the process. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you just get bigger. For some dudes, it's only a 6-inch difference. But
that 6 inches is all that matters. Hey!
Yeah. But that's still half a foot.
Right?
You know?
That's what I keep telling everyone.
You think of Jesus. But you think of the salamanders and any son of Vulcan. Salamanders are already about 6 inches taller than most Space Marines. So now they're even bigger. And then, yeah, Tyberos getting even bigger is a terrifying thought.
Oh,
so,
God.
but it happened. But the important thing is, And since this
All
is
his like
Warhammer,
muscles replaced with like steel. Oh, it's gross.
oh yeah, that's man, that's a scary thought. But what's wild about all of this is just the idea that they that so many of them went through it, but they confirm that, and then they confirm that because this is Warhammer, the named characters are still alive. So obviously Baelshar is still with us, Tiberus is still with us, Tekaharangi is still with us, which that's a scary thought, because Tekaharangi is actually the second longest living Astartes that is with us. The only one older than him is Dante, and by 100 years.
Woof.
Yeah. And one thing we learn in this, Tekaharangi has actually gotten stronger. Which, I mean, granted, he's not the only one, because there's, like, librarian-wise, there's him. Like, when Mephiston went through the procedure, there was, like, a whole fucking psychic awakening to where he was becoming, like, a short-range beacon. Like that, which is fucking crazy when you think about it. And then Tiberius, the chief librarian of the Ultramarines, is also a really, really powerful psyker. They all now are even stronger than they used to be, which is, God, that's a scary thought. I mean, granted, just Mephiston being stronger is fucking frightening, because that dude's scary. But regardless, so the story of this book is that during the course of the era Indomitus, the Carcharodons have had to become more involved in the Imperium. They're still technically exiles, but now they are at a point where they have been called upon. They were actually called upon by Guilliman himself during the Crusade, and they answered. And I think it was their fourth company that answered. But they have been going from planet to planet. Now they actually work with the Guard. Now they've actually, like it mentions in the book, that they've started working with other chapters as well, which they hadn't done since the Bad Ab War. And we don't really get their opinions on it. They don't like the way that it's worded. Doesn't sound like they're against it. But the one thing that you don't hear is that they've been anywhere near the Inquisition, who, as we in the previous books, was kind of looking at them because they wondered if these guys were legit, if they're heretical, so on and so forth, which they're not. But the fact that the Inquisition gets really squirrely about any chapter that does not work with them at all, because like there are chapters in the Unknown Founding that they have good relations with, like the Blood Ravens. But then there are others in that founding that they have terrible relations with like the Carcharodons, because it's non-existent, and the Lamenters. The Lamenters don't like them either. And, of course, Astartes are largely kind of like self-governing bodies, effectively. Which is why, for those who don't know, that's the reason why everybody hates Leandros. Because fuck Leandros.
Fuck them.
Because the basic idea is that whenever there is a thought of corruption within the chapter, you go to the chaplain. You don't go to the Inquisition.
And your boy went straight to the Inquisition instead of bringing out the fucking chaplain to be like, okay, listen, this is fucking weird. He faced down all this corruption. Nothing happened to him.
Yep.
I've never heard that happen before. And then it only turns out it's just Titus is really, really faithful.
Yeah. He's not the first. Sigismund was like that. But,
Fuck. Even after the second game, he's trying to kill him in that Amazon show, too.
Yeah, God, that was so frustrating. But yeah, I can only imagine the conversation on that ship at the end of the first game. Because he's surrounded by Black Templars. And they're probably like, dude, did your subordinate just use the space book against you? We fucking told you that thing wasn't worth the paper it's printed on. Oh, man.
And then just to be told that straight to his face by fucking Rabel Gilliman when he woke up. This was just supposed to be a guideline, not a Bible.
I'd like to think that I need a fan art of Gilliman smacking Leandros over the head with the fucking codex. But anyway, so with Void Exile, the story in this is that we are now at a point where we are past the Rubicon, we're past the first part of the Indomitus Crusade. And now we're at a point where we're just kind of dealing with the fall of Cadian and its after effects. So the Carcharodons have gone to a Manufactorum world to assist the Mechanicus because they have found that there is a Space Hulk that is set to intercept that is going to crash on their planet. And they're like, hey, we're coming here to assist you because this is going to happen. And if we're not here, what could happen is fucking terrible. Because our chief librarian and our librarian in general have sensed that there's something very dark on this Space Hulk. So we're here to stop them from fucking up this Manufactorum planet. And of course the Mechanicus don't like being told, that what is and isn't going to happen because they have a level of independence because of the Treaty of Mars. So what ends up happening is the Carcharodons kind of have to deal with that with Cowrie, who is the librarian that they recruited back in Red Tithe, being kind of a de facto leader of the Third Company, when the real leader of the Third Company is no longer Baal Shar. It's actually a member of the Red Brethren, or former member of the Red Brethren, which were Tyberos's guards, that the First Company Terminators. And who's the dude's name is ironically named Kino.
Nice.
And he is the least Kino character ever. He's a fucking prick. Because he doesn't want the job. And he's not commander material at all. Like, he wasn't like one of like the sergeants in the Red Brethren. He was just a random dude that was like a part of it. So he had a cameo appearance in the first book. But regardless, so where's Baal Shar, you might ask? He's actually on the Space Hulk. So at a point, he was made what is called a Void Exile. Which this tends to happen on occasion with certain Space Marine chapters, is you will do something disgraceful and they will exile you instead of killing you or something like that. In some cases, what will happen is you'll go serve with the Death Watch and you'll become a Black Shield. But some chapters have their own way of dealing with this. I actually don't think anybody in the Carcharodons serves in the Death Watch because, again, they're exiles, so I don't think that they do that. Which, of course, they don't want any proximity to the Inquisition either. So what instead they do is they exile you. And basically, you get cryogenically frozen, and you get sent on missions that are like suicide missions. So what they did was they took the Void Exiles, they cryo-froze them, and they put their cryopods in the path of the Space Hulk. So they would get basically like absorbed into it. Which they did. They got picked up by what turned out to be Chaos forces inside the Space Hulk, and that's where Baal Shar is. So he is stripped of his rank, he's no longer a captain, and he works with 4 other Void Exiles, one of whom is a former Tech Marine, one of whom is a former Assault Marine, so on the tabletop it would be an Assault Intercessor, who, because he doesn't have his old weapon, what he did was he modified his gauntlets to have claws on them like Wolverine. Which I thought was pretty dope.
That sounds pretty sick, not gonna lie.
Yep. And then a 4th one who is just kind of...
there.
Yeah, he's kind of like the chill dude of the squad. So, basically, the goal is twofold. On the ground with the Carcharodons, They have to embed themselves among the Mechanicus to prepare for the landing of the Space Hulk, because it's going to crash land, which is is a frightening thought. Space Hulks are fucking massive, and in the Space Hulk itself, you have 4 Carcharodons, which, keep in mind, these guys are stealth experts.
Supposedly.
Well, no, they actually go into, in this book, we actually get more details on how they stealth around. And it's really cool. Which, the thing is, though, it's basically how the Raven Guard do it. So
Yeah,
another confirmation that they're just Raven Guard successors, which I don't really think takes the mystique or the cool factor away from them, because 1, the Raven Guard are fucking awesome, and 2, Raven Guard successors tend to be fucking awesome too. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, so we follow both paths, and we follow the ground forces with Cowrie from who was a grunt in the first book is now a sergeant himself. So we follow Cowrie a lot. I really like him. I mean, not Cowrie. What was his name? Cowrie's the Psyker, though we do follow him too. I'm gonna look up the name because they're all like Maori, and even some sound like Japanese sounding names, like Cowrie. It's not spelled like it is in Japanese, or like the alliteration. It's spelled Kauri, which is a little different. Okay, so notable Carcharodons. Tama does show up in this one. It's very brief. Oh, Ari is his name. But we follow these guys. And then later on during the course of the book, Teika Harangi does show up again, which is awesome because he's awesome. I love the Pale Nomad. But there is a but we basically follow the different perspectives, and the bad guys in this are the Dark Mechanicum. Specifically, servants of Vashtor the Archiphane. So Vashtor actually makes a cameo in this. And it doesn't really tell us what he's doing at this point. We just know that he's still out there somewhere. Because last he was seen was in the book The Arcs of Omen, where he found a way into the Webway. Which, Chaos Forces getting into the Webway is fucking horrifying. Because I don't think they've been able to do that up to this point.
They usually get obliterated by the spiders that run it. Usually.
Yep, so I'm curious to see how this is going to play out. But regardless, that's basically what it is. And we get a key into like how the Carcharodons are so quiet. They have modified power armor just like the Raven Guard does. So they basically modify it to be quieter. But the other cool thing about it that they can do to basically make themselves almost completely in, like, as long as they're standing in a shadow, like you're not going to see them. They actually control the amount of output on their power packs on their back. So they turn it almost all the way down. And it turns down their heat signature too. So unless you're looking really hard for them, you're not going to see them. But effectively,
Probably also have like stummers as well too.
Yeah.
A stummer being it's a 40K device that cancels out ambient sound waves.
Yep. So they are fully kitted out. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention. Not all of them are wearing full suits of Mark 10 Tacticus armor or things along those lines. The way they describe Cowrie is that he wears Librarian Tacticus, just like they usually do. Same with Tekaharangi. But Bale Shar specifically, his armor is a mix of Mark 10 and Mark 5. So he's still got like some of the same armor, and that like a lot of the guys in the chapter have basically done that. And the Mechanicus they actually like analyze their armor and like tweak it while they're out there. There's one Mechanicus that they meet, this older woman that is like tweaking what's his name? Fuck. He's tweaking Ari's armor while they're out in the field and fixes his bolter for him. It's actually a really neat scene. So there's some fun stuff where they kind of learn that like not all the Mechanicus are a bunch of dicks. But regardless, the one thing that we also learned about the Carcharodons and like how they like to do stealth is think Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers, where you know how in those movies like the camera will be standing there and then like there's the teens in the foreground and then they'll show a little bit of light in the background and you see that Michael Myers is just there. Think that.
Goes, yeah, baby, yeah. And wait, that's Mike Myers.
Yeah, different one. But, like, he's just there. Like, you turn a corner and they're just there. And it's like, oh, no. That's how they come across to people that they're sneaking around. It's like, when you see them, you'll shit bricks. So, but effectively, like, the Dark Mechanicum stuff, the way I would describe this book is take the story of the game Space Marine 2 and mix it with Tetsuo the Iron Man. Yeah. There's a lot of biomechanical horror in this. Like, it's basically like 40K meets biopunk in a lot of ways. There's a scene where a dude gets hit with, like a member of the Mechanicus gets hit with warp magic that causes him to tear off all the machinery that's on him. But underneath it is bare flesh. But the magic will not allow him to stop tearing. So he rips off his own skin.
Blech.
And he's all machine underneath. And he keeps rotating over and over and over again. Literally put into a living hell of ripping himself to pieces over and over. It is fucking wild. So as you can tell, this is a 40K novel. There's a lot of blood and guts. There are points that are just fucking horrifying. But overall, it's a really fun story. It's action horror. You know, if they made it into a video game, it would kind of feel like Resident Evil.
Well, from the opposite direction, obviously, but
yeah, because one thing that I will flat out say is that some of the chaos units in it are kind of, because there's no Chaos Space Marines, a lot of the little like mechanical demonettes and stuff aren't really that threatening. But then at one point, like a Forge Fiend shows up.
Oh, those are fucking big.
Yeah, that causes some problems. A possessed tank shows up. Because it's the Dark Mechanicum, like they can possess machinery. Then what are those ones with like all the claws and the spider legs?
A Defiler?
Yeah, a Defiler shows up. So there's some tabletop units in there as well. But it really is a lot like Tetsuo the Iron Man, a little bit of Resident Evil, you know, biopunk, biotech punk or whatever you would call it, biotech horror. I don't what Xavier, what genre would you say Tetsuo the Iron Man fits into?
Probably just general body horror.
Just general body horror. Yeah, there's a lot of it. There's a lot of it. So, it's a very, very good book. It's not one where there's like crazy implications for the rest of the Imperium by the end of it. It's a pretty self-contained story, but it's really fun. So, I have to say, like, if this was the last Carcharodon's book, I don't think it will be, because these tend to sell pretty well. People really like them. But if this was the last one, I would be pretty satisfied with it. I just would like to see another book where we get more Tyberos, because like him just walking into a boarding pod full of Tyranids, and then all like 5 minutes later, Tyberos just walks out covered in blood and guts, is like one of the craziest things. Because we don't know what was in that pod, and now it doesn't fucking matter. That's why I love Space Marines. Like they when they get to do something badass, it's really hard to top it. It's a lot of fun. So the only thing that I would say kind of is a little bit of a bummer about the book is that I really wish we had gotten more with the old Mechanicus woman. I thought she was really cool. Because she was always very willing to work with the Carcharodons, whereas the rest of the Mechanicus was very standoffish towards them. Which even goes to show you that... Oh, go ahead.
I mean, to be fair, she is being surrounded by dudes wandering around that are effectively antiques. Like, supreme antiques. But still...
Yeah, because you're going to get that curious Mechanicus that just wants to touch all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And they love tampering with Space Marine armor.
One, they don't know how it works. Two, they kind of want to make more of it, but at the same time, the old masters, they knew what they were doing.
Hell yeah. The one thing I would just love to see, I want the next book to be Carcharodons and Raven Guard. I just think it would be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, especially to see if they notice their brothers are a little closer to being cousins.
I would imagine Caven probably knows something. He always seems like the knowledgeable fella. Then again, he's probably my favorite chapter master right now. Is probably Caven Shrike. Tushan's great too. Don't get me wrong. I love my salamanders, but he's not really in a whole lot. Like he's in like the first War for Armageddon, which is kind of like where he makes his name. But we haven't seen a whole lot of him since.
Could you imagine if they teamed up and then like this fucking epilogue that just says we found him? That's nothing else.
That would be interesting, because it could have so many implications. Because yeah, if with these guys basically being the mysticism of the Carcharodons is that there's only one person who can bring them out of their exile, and it's the Forgotten One, who, when he's described in the first book, it's Corvus. It's Corvus. Like it's like they describe Corvus, and how I'm curious as to what his judgment would be. But I have been ranting for close to an hour on a book, so we need to get to our topics for the week. So, but regardless, I recommend people, if you're out there, if you have not read any of the Carcharodon's books up to this point, please do so. They're very fun. And Void Exile is definitely a worthwhile addition to your collection. Now, let's talk about the Switch 2. So, big release for the Switch 2. Interesting that it's technically an upgrade. I mean, now it can run in 4K as long as it's docked. So that's nice. I have a 4K TV, so, I mean, and my Switch doesn't really put good use to it. But there's a problem with the Switch 2 that's a lot of people were not really happy with. And that is that if you modify it, then Nintendo has it in the end user license agreement that they can brick your console remotely.
And you don't get it back.
You don't get it back. You can send it in, and then they'll be like, "Oh, you tampered with it. This is against the terms of service. You can fuck off."
They're gonna make you write an essay on why what you did was wrong.
Mm-hmm. Effectively.
Right? They're going to make you write a personal apology to Miyamoto-san. Because he is very sad now.
So somebody did that a few years back where, to get out of a ban, you have to write an essay on what you did was wrong.
Really?
I don't remember who that was.
That sounds like something a Redditor would force you to do.
Yeah. It really does. I wonder if Miyamoto owns a fucking Trilby. Or a Fedora, rather. But yeah, this is from the article over at Game Rant. Nintendo's end-user license agreement tied to the Nintendo Switch 2 console has been deemed abusive by a Brazilian consumer protection agency over the company's ability to permanently disable the Switch 2 units of users who Nintendo has found to have violated the contract. Agency has reportedly put the company on official notice over its Nintendo Switch 2 policies, which it claims violate Brazilian consumer protection laws. Now, the thing about this is this is the only country, to my knowledge, to challenge this. The U.S. did not, because the general idea was, look, it's in the terms of service, you signed the contract, you agreed to it. So there's not really a whole lot that can be done in America through the court system. Legislation would have to be passed to change it to where, you could not do this to hardware remotely, which I will say right now, if that legislation were to ever materialize, I would be in full support, because I think this is bullshit. Because the fact of the matter is that when you buy hardware, you should be able to do with it whatever you want. I think the ability to brick something remotely is a violation of someone's. It's first off, it's disrespectful to their property rights, and it's in violation of their privacy, which you don't have a right to privacy. But many laws that exist on the books, you don't get a right to it, but it is protected by law to be something that's at least considered as important, So it is. When I heard that, I immediately said, I am not buying this.
Mm-hmm.
Not at all, because I understand wanting to fight against piracy, but there is a better way to go about this. If you have a detection of a mod in it, just cut them off from the network. You say a modified console cannot access Nintendo Online.
Dead simple.
Yeah. Because at that point, you're still respecting the fact that the person bought it, but because the online would have its own EULA, then, they have to respect your wishes in regards to accessing their network, which is, it's not something that's part of the console, it's something that the console connects to. It's sort of like, let's say you couldn't have a modified television and access Netflix or something like that. They have the right to have that, but if they bricked your television, that would be kind of ridiculous.
At minimum, fuck.
Yeah. So, I have to say, has there been anything like this before that you guys can remember?
No, I can think of a lot of software modifications where they will, if they detect something on your end, they'll be like, yeah, well, you can go fuck yourself.
Sony will take away your games depending on how you play on PSN.
Mm-hmm. And then 2.5 years ago, Ubisoft demanded that you delete all your software if they no longer supported it. So that's 2.5 years ago that they changed that,
Yeah.
which is fuck bullshit.
Incredible.
Mm-hmm. But hardware. Oh, John Deere. John Deere was very bad for this because okay. So you know how farmers are extraordinarily independent, right?
Oh, absolutely.
If they can't fix it themselves, they don't want it.
Pretty much.
Anyway, John Deere is one of the worst for effectively keeping their tractors in a walled garden, to the point where if it detects any changes whatsoever, it will shut the tractor down, and then you have to call in a John Deere mechanic to come and give you a tut-tut, don't touch this thing anymore, and then he'll reset it for you. And that pissed off farmers so fucking bad that I believe they went all the way to the Supreme Court in Idaho for it.
They got the right to repair.
Yeah.
God, that is so wild that it's getting to that point.
Mm-hmm. And plus you have that one guy in I think New Jersey who basically
he's always lobbying for right to repair and doing videos on it and doing.
He's been basically fighting a one-man war on the East Coast against Apple, because Apple, holy shit, Apple is so fucking terrible about their right to repair and their tendency to brick things, but to brick remotely. That's kind of new, and it's in very untested waters right now.
I know he's being hassled by. Last I checked, it was like a year or two ago. He was being hassled by the state over taxes after he closed his business and relocated. Somebody didn't fill out the paper, or somebody didn't file the paperwork he turned in. So even though he had no property, he was still technically in business in New York state, and they wanted him to pay New York state taxes.
Ugh. Fucking.
If I remember right. And
fucking bureaucrats, I swear.
It was absurd.
And I suppose it's going to take like fucking 6 months to get that shit cleared. Ugh. God, I hate bureaucrats.
Yeah. I feel like this is sort of like the interesting opposite side to what we were discussing last week with the whole stop killing games thing. Because this is a good example, I think, of where consumer protections are 100% necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the reason why I was lamenting the death of conversation with the whole stop killing games thing, because that's just become a shit show at this point. And because it's not really about preservation of games, not really. It's about making pirate software really mad, which is like, okay, because in 30 years, if the law gets fucked up, that's what we're going to be really caring about. Like, fucking hell, man. But anyway, I digress. But this is a situation where I honestly feel like there has to be something done somewhere, and I'm praying to God that Brazil wins this. Because there has to be some challenge to this. Like, just saying it's like, you signed the contract, ergo enjoy Fucksville because you dared to modify your console. Like, it's ridiculous to me. I hate every little bit of this. You know, I understand that you don't want people to mod it for different reasons, but you know, they purchased that hardware with their hard-earned cash. they have the right to do with it as they please. If they want to throw it out a window, they can throw it out a window. If they want to modify it, they can modify it. You know, if you're worried about piracy or if you're worried about that, then yeah, you know, do like sever them from the things that you can control. You know, that they're not necessarily, that's like, well, I don't know if the Nintendo Network is like a subscription service now or if it's free. I never cared about Nintendo that much, so I'm not certain. But if you don't want people accessing your stuff, the Switch store or whatever it's called now, then just restrict them from it if they have a modified console. Don't like destroy their fucking console, man. That's fucked up. It's a step too far.
Yeah, you pay looks like about $25 for a year. Mind you, that's Canadian money, so.
For a year, that ain't bad actually. Compared to like how much I pay for Games Pass every month.
That just gets you to multiplayer though. Ugh.
And who wants to deal with people?
Right?
Ugh, people.
Terrible.
Rita, what do you think about this? Since you're being quiet babby over there.
I don't know.
You don't know?
This is confusing to me.
You've been very confused lately. This has been a pattern I've been noticing.
I'm just not interested to know more because it's confusing to begin with.
What do you find confusing about it, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't know.
Oh my god.
How did you implement this?
Well, okay. So you see your little tablet in front of you? Say one day you wanted to make it, yours and get rid of all the bloatware on it, and then all of a sudden, because very deep down within the EULA that you apparently agreed to, like when you bought the thing, or even if it was changed later on, all of a sudden it's just gone. You can't turn it on. You didn't do nothing to it, as far as you can tell, but you broke some rule in there.
Why did they didn't think that was a good idea?
Well, depending on the argument, they could be they're trying to keep you from pirating software on your tablet here, or they don't want you to upgrade any part whatsoever on your little tablet there. I mean, they already do that by keeping you from having too many ports on that fucking thing. But I digress. They're ultimately trying to essentially establish dominion and prevent their first-party software from being stolen, I guess. Because holy shit, once they get their exclusives, they never ever drop a price on a Nintendo game. You ever notice that? There is never ever a single deal on the first party. So I can imagine them wanting to try and maintain that hegemony as much as they possibly can. It's kind of a brutal way of going about it. Absurdly cunning in a predatory way. But it sucks, and I hope some form of precedent and they have a really good fucking technologist or a techsmith that they can talk about down there to explain why this is bad to the normie judges down there. Because oh my god, I may not be a fan of fucking bureaucrats, but I'm certainly not a fan of any judges.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, it goes without saying that, with me at least, I don't plan on buying this console as long as you can do that because fuck
Mhm.
that noise. But let's go
Mhm.
ahead and move on to our second topic of the week. This is a happy one.
Yeah.
In fact, it was Rena who made me aware of this.
You know, remember him?
Mm,
You ever see anything with him in it? You
yes.
small baby,
Yes, I have. Damn.
5 years old, hasn't seen anything.
I have seen stuff with him in it.
Well,
I'm
let's go
not
down.
that.
Let's go down the line then. Favorite Keith David movie. We'll start with Xavier. Oh, movie, show, or anything that he was in.
The Thing or They Live, kind of between the two. No. Between The Thing and Men at Work.
Okay. I'm going to give you Men at Work. I'm going to take The Thing. Serena, what about you?
Um, I liked his role in like the Saints Row game. Keith David as Keith David.
Oh God, yeah, I forgot about that.
He did a decent performance as Hush. What was it? What was it? Hush? Hush from Hasman Hotel. He was probably the only likable character there.
See, I haven't watched Has Been, so I know nothing about it. Mike, what about you?
Oh god, it has to be fucking Goliath from Gargoyles. Absolutely, like that's the only thing my brain like it jumps immediately to for, because he added such a velvety range to that show. Oh my
He
goodness.
he really did. But yeah, folks, Keith David is set to get a star on the Hollywood Walk of Pain. Walk of Pain. The Walk of Fame. Mark Henry has arrived somehow, but no.
The Walk of Pain would have been that alley fight from They Live, where you
Yeah.
agreed to put on the sunglasses after taking that ass whipping, and then you tried to welch on it, so you had to take a second ass whipping.
Yeah. Either put on these sunglasses or start eating that trash can. God, I miss Roddy Piper. But regardless, but yeah, Keith David getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, huge deal. At 70 years of age, it is overdue in my opinion, because this guy is one of the most unsung actors, I think, of all time. This is a guy that has been in so much stuff that, like, so many classic films, classic television shows, classic animation, so on and so forth. Like, it's wild the stuff that he's in. He's in The Thing. He's in Platoon. He's in Stars and Bars. He's in They Live. He's in Roadhouse. He's in Men at Work. Let's see.
He had one of the best lines in Men at Work too. Ain't that a shame? Somebody threw out a perfectly good white boy when he found that body in the trash can.
Yeah, he's in The Quick and the Dead. Let's see, what else was he in? He was Apollo in Hercules. He was in Princess Mononoke. He was of course in the Riddick films.
And his work for the Navy.
Yep, he voiced over a lot of Navy commercials for a very long time. Was in The Princess and the Frog. Like, it's just crazy, all of the stuff and that's just films that I'm just listing off, guys. Like, he was all the way back. He was the handyman on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood for about 9 episodes.
Spawn.
Spawn. He was incredible as Spawn.
Mm-hmm.
Spawn literally saved that Mortal Kombat 11. Was it 11? Game.
Yeah, it was 11.
He basically saved that game for, well, extended. I should say saved, but extended its interest because a lot of people have been asking for Spawn for decades.
Oh yeah. But yeah, the thing about him is just that he's like, and there's even more. Like he's who was it that he played in Justice League? Was it Mesmero?
Don't remember.
It's the guy with a third eye. It's not Mesmero. Who was it? Despero. He played Despero in Justice League, which, like that, God, the Despero episodes, Hearts and Minds is what they were called, was so good. Because they had Despero as a cult leader. And he had taken over the Flame of Pytar, which is like the lifeblood of the planet that they were on. It was so good. Yeah, he was also, of course, in video games, like as far back as Planescape Torment, which was in '99.
Ridiculous. Ridiculous. God.
And then, of course, Wayne would not let us forget the fact that he is the Arbiter.
Mm-hmm.
He's also Captain Anderson in the Mass Effect games as well. He's also Sergeant Foley in Modern Warfare 2, and he will tell you to get into Burger Town and save it. But yeah, one of the most unsung actors ever. Just ever. And he's had so many great performances, so many great characters, and I really feel like this is like the man deserves this. Like did all of you guys see the video of like him watching the announcements of who's going to be on the Walk of Fame?
I linked it.
I saw a clip of it, yeah.
Mike, did you see it?
I have not yet.
It is one of the most heartwarming things you will ever see. Because I think it's his wife and his daughter that are there with him when they're reading off the announcements. And yeah, I'm really excited for him. He's one of my favorite actors. Like the Thing for me is like it's my favorite horror film, and his role in it is just so good because he's such a kind of a prick in it, but for good reason. He's the guy who's kind of always questioning it. And then, of course, the one line everybody's going to remember. Childs, Mac wants a flamethrower. Mac wants to what?
Shit.
And then
I mean, it
just
is a particular request.
Yeah. And then just the standoff is like, well, you better just kill me. And then you actually think Kurt Russell's going to shoot him. It's like, Jesus. It's such a good movie. But yeah, it's just one of those things where I really feel like I don't know if we could really say enough about him as an actor and just about how he has like one of the best voices of all time. And I've always loved like listening to interviews with him because he's so passionate about his work. And he's obviously a very busy actor. Like, you look at his credits, and he's done everything. And if you've seen him in it, you probably liked him because he's just very good at what he does. And I'm just really happy for him. You know, it's just one of those moments to where I've been literally watching this guy do his thing since I was a kid. And getting to see him finally get recognized for how fucking awesome he is just so cool. Kind of makes me want to go back and watch Spawn. You know?
I kind of want to watch all the way all the canon episodes of the Gargoyles before the creator had to take up the canon stories again.
Mm-hmm. Didn't they try to revive that show?
They had the Goliath Chronicles, which continued the show. It's some people liked it, some people didn't.
Okay.
But it was with a different creative team, and it's like Xanatos said he's sorry and gave him back the castle, and now that the knowledge of the gargoyles is like very public, the gargoyles are literally fighting for their civil rights. And there's actually an organization that are like Klansmen for gargoyles called Quarrymen that are actually like, no, we just need to wipe them out.
Wow.
Fucking. I'm sorry.
Like, there's literally an episode where Goliath is on trial.
I mean, fair, but it's just.
But yeah, I mean, this is a guy who has been a gargoyle. He has been Spawn. He has been a disembodied suit of armor. That's when he plays Valor in Planescape Torment, which has one of the lines that he has in that game goes so hard. One of them being, "Justice is not blind, for I am her eyes." Like, oh my god,
that goes hard shit.
Like, Valor is the fucking man. Like, that is one character from Planescape Torment that if they ever wanted to bring back in some capacity, I would not argue at all.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, this is so awesome. I would recommend to anybody out there, if you have not seen footage of him being told about this, it's super heartwarming. And again, completely well-deserved. I'm glad that, given his age, I'm glad he is still among us to be able to accept this. Because...
Yo, he... That's an immediate pop-up, bro.
Oh, are you looking up the video?
Yeah, he's just dumbstruck now. Because I know this will kind of take some of the allure of it from, is that you have to pay like $10,000 to just to be considered. They don't like automatically give them to you though. You get put in a pool.
Now, is that a one-time fee, or is that every time they're picking a new one?
It might be a one-time fee, I think. I'll have to go double-check one of these days. Yeah, damn, he's just if he wasn't any less stoic, he'd be joining his girl there.
Yep.
Yeah, I liked that. That was good. It's a good video. Go
Very
find
much
it.
So. Absolutely. Now, this next one, we have some sad news, but also kind of a little bit of a celebration of a great career. So sadly this week, we lost another great actor, another unsung actor. You know, one of the guys that he's a unique actor in the sense that he has been in, it seems like, everything. But he has been in some of the best movies ever made, and they seem to stand out in every single one of them. And that is Michael Madsen. So, Michael Madsen is from my neck of the woods. He's a Chicago boy like me. And he is a dude who has been in a lot of stuff. He was a regular in Quentin Tarantino films. He was in Reservoir Dogs. He was in Kill Bill. He was in Hateful Eight. He was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. There was another one. Actually, no. I was trying to think if he was in Pulp Fiction. He's actually not. That's Harvey Keitel that's in that one. But yeah, was in a good amount of Tarantino films. Was also in The Natural, The Doors, Thelma and Louise, Free Willy, Species, Donnie Brasco, which is a great movie if you've never seen it. Die Another Day, Sin City, where he plays Bruce Willis's partner. It's not a big role in that movie, but he was really good in it. He's been in video games like Grand Theft Auto 3 and the Dishonored games. And dude was probably one of the biggest actors in Hollywood. So much so that he actually has, on his Wikipedia page, his own, like, filmography page by itself. He was in that much stuff. And all of us have seen at least, because we were talking about this before the show, all of us have seen at least one movie with him in it. Serena, I think the only one she had seen him in was Kill Bill, right?
Yeah.
See, with me, I've seen him in that. I've seen him in Donnie Brasco. I've seen him in, because he's really good in Donnie Brasco. Which, by the way, standing out performance-wise in a film with Johnny Depp and Al fucking Pacino means you're a really good actor. But I've seen him in that.
Oh, Reservoir Dogs is the one that I remember him the most in.
Yeah. You gonna bark all yeah, let me do that again. Are you gonna bark all day, little doggy, or you gonna bite? Ugh. It's so many lines that went hard.
Especially him improvising that whole thing where he with the razor. That was all improvised by him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I won't explain it.
Very, very, very talented guy in that one. He showed up in Die Another Day. Obviously, he was great in Kill Bill. In that one, he plays Bill's brother, Bud, who probably has some of the best dialogue in the whole thing between him and Bill at the beginning of the second film. And one of my favorite questions from that: you hawked a Hattori Hanzo sword? It's priceless. Not in Austin, Texas, it ain't.
Jesus.
It's so good. Oh, God, that movie is amazing. Both of them are. It's one of my favorite movies ever. But he was really good in it because he had this attitude of, like, the self-aware assassin at the end of his rope. He's done it all. He's seen it all. And now he lives in a trailer in the middle of the fucking desert. And his attitude is like, look, we're the scum of the earth. This lady's coming to kill us. And if we lose, We brought it on ourselves. It was just a unique sort of... It kind of reminded me of... Because Tarantino's very inspired by, like, Japanese cinema. He's a big Akira Tozawa fan.
Kurosawa.
Oh, Kurosawa, sorry. Akira Kurosawa fan. Akira Tozawa's the wrestler. Akira Kurosawa fan. So there's a lot of that inspiration in this. You could kind of compare the assassins in this to Ronin. That's why they all have samurai sword, or they all have katanas. And he just sort of has this attitude. I don't know of a character in, like, samurai fiction that I would compare him to. But he kind of comes across like somebody that would be a target of... I forget the name of the samurai from Blade of the Immortal. But they all come across like they could have been Blade of the Immortal villains. You kind of get what I'm saying?
Mm.
So, I need to finish that at some point, too. But, great in that... Go ahead, Mike.
No, go ahead. I gotta figure out who I'm thinking of when... Because I swear to God he was in John Wick, but that's somebody else.
Sadly, no, though he would have fit so well. Are you thinking about the guy who plays the head of the hotel?
No, I'm thinking of the guy that plays the Russians, Capo.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
I'm just double checking.
Like the guy who's the right-hand man?
Dean Winters.
Yeah, he's always like, Vito, English?
Mm-hmm.
Is that who you think? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
okay.
He also played O'Brien in Oz.
Yeah, that's why I keep mixing them up, because if you look at them side by side, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, Dean Winters could be... looks like he could be his son. Like, it's wild.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, great in that. He was great in Sin City for the short part that he had. He's a character that to me always, and like I always thought, played regret very well. He kind of just had that. He could get that sort of look of on his face of, it's like, look, I'm caught, and I'm not gonna argue against what I already did. You know. I'm just gonna eat, like, it's oftentimes like the character would either want redemption or want to die, and he just kind of had that vibe. He also played gangsters very well. He has that vibe about him. That's what he was in Donnie Brasco. Unfortunately for him, he also worked with Uwe Boll at one point. He's in the Blood Rain movie.
Say what you want about Uwe Boll. At least the man admitted that he was making garbage, and he knew it. He wasn't out there calling himself like, this is high art. I am an artiste. It was, no, I'm making schlock.
I'm making schlock just so I could take advantage of this German monetary loss law.
Yeah. And because nobody's lost any money, I keep getting to make schlock.
God, as an aside for Uwe Boll, like, you could tell he's actually a pretty okay director with his work on Rampage.
Yeah, I heard Rampage was good, and I hear that the Postal movie's not bad.
The Postal movie's not bad for what it is.
Good. Yeah.
For what it is, yeah. It's just...
I
back
think
to Michael Madsen.
That was just a good movie for him, because what's the story of Postal? A really angry guy takes you. Yeah. A guy is really fucking mad, and he's tired of taking it. Something a little bit more simple than Alone in the Dark, which was not what Alone in the Dark was about
at all. Yeah, that one was bad.
Or House of the Dead, which was not about what House of the Dead was about. Or there was a house and there were some dead people, but that was it.
Yeah.
Somehow that got a direct-to-DVD sequel.
It did, didn't it? I forgot about that.
Yeah. Where it's a college campus. And somebody mentions Goldman. And that's it. That
No Suffer Like G did.
No Suffer Like G did. No Dogs from the AMS. Somebody just some of the mercs that are sent there to try and stop this. One of them mentions they work for Goldman.
Oh.
The
Well,
end.
Wow.
regardless, other stuff that he played, he was Mogrim the Wolf from Lion the Witch in the Wardrobe. He was pretty good in that one. Granted, Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe is like one of my favorite books, so I'm biased there.
And then, I mean, he played a pretty good Michael Madsen in being Michael Madsen.
Yep. But yeah, he was a guy, though, that he clearly loved acting. Like, he would find a way to shine in just about anything he was in. Even if it was a bad movie, his role usually was not bad. You know? And there's a reason that, someone like Quentin Tarantino or Robert Rodriguez would rely on him when they needed him, because they knew this guy could come in and tear up whatever that you gave him, And this guy was so active that, folks, I shit you not, there will be 4 more films that will be coming out in the future that with him in it that have not been released. It is absolutely crazy. And again, now I want to I definitely want to watch Kill Bill again. Though I might watch Reservoir Dogs. I haven't watched Reservoir Dogs in a really long time.
Oh, goodness. One of the movies that apparently that are yet to release is called Legend of the White Dragon, which is
The Jason David Frank movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically a legally distinctive Power Rangers.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Jason David Frank wanted to do for the anniversary, a really cool White Ranger movie, and they kept jerking him around. This is my understanding. I could be off because there's a lot of information on this that I don't have because I didn't dig into it, before he died. And eventually, he kind of decided to get together with some of the other former Ranger actors and just make his own movie. That's, kind of like an American Toku, and the effects on it looked really, really good.
I mean, it's
But,
kind of hard to fuck up Toku. I mean, it is really easy at the same time when I think about it.
Even really bad movies that we've seen, I think it was there was this old movie that came out in the late '90s called Star Kid, which is literally some kid finds alien power armor and takes it for a ride. Even the Toku bits of that are well done. It's just not a very good story, and the acting's not very good.
Mm-hmm.
So the Toku is doing the Toku isn't hard. It's all the other stuff.
Fair enough.
Yep. Regardless, though, folks, if you haven't already, go watch a movie with Michael Madsen in it. Especially one that's directed by Tarantino, because it's so good. It's so fucking good, man. My pick is always going to be Kill Bill, but Reservoir Dogs is great too. So, all right. Well, folks, we are going to go ahead and call this here, bring this thing to a close. Good discussions this week. I rambled admittedly quite a bit about the book that I read, but I was excited. I'm not going to lie. It was a lot of fun, and I love a good read on occasion, a good audiobook. So, in fact, I'm going to probably be... I had thought that I had picked up the Salamanders trilogy for 40k books. I did not. So I will probably be either reading through Perturabo's book or continuing Plague War. So, regardless, folks, we appreciate you all coming and listening to us. We will be back next week with more interesting stories and other such things. We definitely appreciate y'all coming by, hanging out with us. So for Xavier, Mike, and Serena, my name is Micah Curtis, the head of Grindstone Arts. Have yourselves a great rest of your week.
Frick.